Hello and welcome back to the C-Suite Cyber Podcast. The C-Suite Cyber Podcast enables C-Suite executives to make security-informed decisions. What we got going on today, Mike?
That's great. Good job.
Yeah, did it.
Nothing much. Working hard, man. Learning some stuff. Looking for some training for some folks. Yeah, it's a good time. How about you?
Just automating some detection and testing stuff, so that's been pretty fun. Um, and looking into what training I need. Speaking of training, I wonder if our esteemed guest here, Aaron, will have some info for us. Um, Aaron, I know you're with Detections AI. Do you want to go ahead and give everyone who might not be familiar with you a little bit of background and kind of what you do with Detections AI?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Aaron Mog. I am head of community at Detections AI. So we're a startup that's focused on the community of detection engineering, kind of run a social platform for detection sharing, and I can get into all that. But I've been in security forever, 26 years, and kind of accidentally stumbled into it. I think like a lot of us who didn't come up in the era when you went to school for it, didn't even really want to be in security. But here I am, many, many years later, been mostly vendor side. So a lot of like field CISO roles, Risk IQ, HackerOne, Coalfire, a bunch of like services companies, some product companies, built a few of my own startups. So I built a company called Third Party Trust. I built a company called LifeLock, which became part of Norton eventually. So I've done a few startup-y things, and then a few big company service things. So I've kind of seen every wave of security from like the what the hell is a pen test all the way to agentic AI hype, and rode every one of those waves in different ways. So yeah, I've been doing this for a really long time.
Awesome. Speaking of pen tests, I think this is a great transition to our partner.
Oh, yeah, it's my turn to say stuff. Yeah, so this episode is brought to you by Tandem Cyber Solutions, your go-to pen testing partner. Happy as a founder of the company, we do some cool stuff there. I think the big thing that separates Tandem is that we're there for you all year round, not just that once or twice a year. When those hackers come in, your favorite hackers come in and kick stuff around to look for problems, and they're there all year, answer questions when there's a new vulnerability, new issues that come about. You have someone that can be there for you and help you stay secure all year, not just for about a week after the pen test. Yeah. So there we go. All done. Yeah, you said a bunch of stuff I want to dig into as well. I looked at your I guess not resume, but looked at your LinkedIn profile. I was like, wow, you've been like pretty much everywhere.
Bit of a hired gun, a little bit. A lot of companies bring me in to sort of get a go-to-market effort going.
Mm.
Like an example, like actually joined HackerOne the day COVID started, which was fun. But when I joined HackerOne, we didn't have any Pendas offerings. And so I actually built out the Pendas offering and the crowdsourced pen testing and sort of did that as not a mercenary, but kind of joined the company to do that one thing. And a lot of times when that one thing's done, it's like, do you want to I'm not much of a farmer, if that makes sense. I like the hunting
Yeah.
part of life.
Yeah.
So if I kind of get something to a great state or a state that everybody's happy with, I'll either generally switch roles, or switch companies to go do the next thing. I'm not a long-term, I'll keep staring at one process forever. Maybe that's just better to be in startups than big companies, but, every company, even like a Coalfire, has a huge scope of pen testers. I came in there to kind of launch the new approach to pen testing and continuous processing, product-driven pen testing. So I have a lot of history in that world. So I'll kind of come in and do that and then move on. And then, obviously in cyber, companies are always shifting, getting bought, getting sold, PE, you name it. So yeah, I joined Trace2 to help onboard a big acquisition they did. And so, kind of just depends on what the particular mood is. I've worked with a lot of the same people for a long time. So I'll also follow people around as they move and I'll sort of bring me in and get them through a process and then I'll move on. So yeah, I've seen everything. I think I've seen almost everything you can imagine in cyber.
And that's the way to do it, though. You get hired on for a mission, right? Do this thing, and like, all right, what's next? That's a fun way to kind of go through life instead of just like, I don't really, it's not fun anymore. I'm gonna just stay here for a few years. Why not?
Settle into a seat for 10 years, like, that's awesome. Obviously, a lot of my friends do that and it's amazing. I am vendor side's mercenary driven anyway, right? Like nothing is the same in vendor world for very long. especially when you get into like VC funded startups. Like it's chaos, and so you kind of, you know, oh, I'm with this person, and then they move on, and then you sort of lose your footing, and then you kind of move on to something else. So I don't mind it. I mean, you can look at 20 jobs in 26 years and be overwhelmed by that, or you can be like, whatever, that's just the way cyber works. So I'm more in that latter camp where I'm like, wow, it doesn't bother me at all. And anytime I talk to somebody who's like, oh, you're a job hopper, I'm like, A, everybody does that these days, but also B, like, I don't want to work for you then. If your measure of somebody is only how long they sit in a seat, then I'm probably not the right person for your org anyway.
Good point.
Yeah. That's really cool. So how did you initially get started with that? And I guess a follow-up to that would be, um, do people typically recruit you from your existing spot? Or like, has there ever been a time where you did sit there while you were waiting for the next opportunity because you had already done your task that you were hired for?
Yeah, I mean, you can always find a way to add value, right? So, like, for me, I do a lot of go to market, right? So I do a lot of like customer facing things. So if I'm done building something, I'll start selling it, right? I'll be in the field, I'll meet with customers. At the end of the day, there's always revenue to go get, right? So I am rarely bored. There's a few times during COVID where I thought I was going to lose it, where I was like, I got to get out of this house and be back in front of customers. What I really care about is the people side of this. Like, I hate threat actors. I'm always happy to ruin their day. I have a lot of friends who work in cyber, so I love to sort of help them out with whatever they need. I don't really care. So you kind of navigate that in a way to sort of keep yourself busy. I do a lot of advisement work where like a startup will reach out to me, hey, what about this messaging? What about this approach? A lot of community just me to XYZ. Um, you know, Certainly in venture capital community, it's a small world, right? So you'll hear from sort of the same people over and over again. Can you talk to this startup? There's a lot of money with misdirection right now in our industry. So you get like, what should you cut out? What could you focus on? That's a big part of what I do. So I'm never bored. I just can't imagine being bored in this industry. And if you're bored, you probably aren't thinking out enough of the different ways you can get involved. I've never been a big, local con person. I know a lot of people like run a B-sides or do something like that, which I love, and I'll certainly throw money at them. I've never had that like real deep urge to keep something going for 20 years. I mean, like Chicago, we've had a few cons that have been great. And like, the ThoughtCon has been running for years and they put so much work into it. And I look at it, I'm like, nope, not for me. That's way too much making the trains on that time. But I do love talking to startups. I do love talking to customers. I do love talking to other vendors and seeing what they're working on. It's a big part of what I do.
Yeah, it's hard taking on projects like that. Like I had a big problem trying to figure out how involved I want to get because you have to weigh. I like to learn, so I want to spend a lot of time researching and doing stuff, but I like to give back, and it's always a play between those two. And then, of course, all that family time and all that other time, and trying to get that right mix there. And a lot of people like don't realize that, especially people getting like, "Oh, why don't you do more? Why don't you do more?" I'm like, well, it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I have kids, 3 kids, so I'm always challenged with that. I think part of what's helped me the last probably 5, 6 years is just less travel too. It's just been like for pre-COVID, I was 100,000 mile in the air every year guy, constantly moving. And so there is a little bit more think time these days. Even if you want to go certain places, like it used to be like, oh, I go to New York and have 50 meetings in a week kind of thing. And you just go back to back. They're not even there anymore. So like there's really not much value to that as there used to be. Obviously with RTO, it's coming and like you go to San Francisco and actually see people in offices now. But yeah, so that's been really nice to be like, I've really seen a lot more of my kids in the last 6 years than I did the previous 5 years before that. So yeah, it's been nice to be home for sure.
I think that's really interesting too, because I was kind of curious with you uh, going to startups, particularly, right? Like, I imagine that you would be working significantly longer hours with go to market as well. So it's interesting to hear that you're actually having more family time. I think that's great.
Yeah, you can, there's this insane, 996 crap going on in Silicon Valley and stuff. And, I also am very lucky that I don't work we don't really have these insecurity, but there's a lot of startups that are, you know, for 22-year-olds in a dorm room figuring it out. I missed that era. I didn't do that when I was that age. I was just working to survive. And we call them ramen startups, where basically you just eat ramen and survive. I don't do that. So that's part of it too, is like I work with grownups. We have venture capital, we have vacations, with money, right? So you're not like scrambling to survive. The go get them energy of startups is fun, but like that's not totally the kind of, like, if you think about like the Social Network, like Facebook movie, I never did that. I never did the, like, I'm in a dorm room hacking all night thing. I was like, that's not where the world I came from. More power to those guys. Very rarely do they succeed in security, but like in general, like I get why that's fun. But I don't do that. I turn off my computer and go spend time with my family at night.
Yeah, that's awesome. I honestly did not know you could do both. So good to know.
You can. The having money helps for
Yeah.
sure. It's awfully hard to do if you're like every day is a risk. So yeah, it's definitely hard for sure.
Yeah, AJ was asking me the other day. He's like, "How do you do so much?"
Good
Because
question.
I have like I do the videos and stuff on YouTube, streaming. I work full time. I have a company, so it's balancing. Taking the time off when you need it. Having hobbies. It is tough, and it's a game that everyone has to play and do figure out what they feel comfortable with. And some people sacrifice family for life or family for work way too much and becomes a problem, and they don't realize till much later. And so you just got to figure out what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I think also as I've aged, I've learned to not worry about what I don't know as much, if that makes sense. Like, obviously with like AI is a big challenge because it's like all new. So I am learning it sort of like a kid again. But like, I don't, like, a lot of stuff comes up. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't need to spend all weekend learning this. Like, I'll either find somebody who is more driven to learn it, or you just also learn to rely on experts more. Like, you can spend as a startup months trying to pick a benefits plan, or you try to build an office or whatever. And it's like, just find somebody who's good at it and let them do it for you. Like, this is not like, there's this Herculean thing where it's like, I have to figure it out. And even now with like vibe coding and stuff, like, I know it produces crap code sometimes and everything, but like, you can do more not being an expert. But I also think you can rabbit hole on that, right? Like, I've seen it where somebody who's not that technical tries to use Claude to write an app, and they spend 10 times as much energy on fixing crappy code than just hiring somebody to do the damn job that's good at it, right? So I do think it comes with prioritization, and I sort of call it wisdom, right? Of just aging. Like, yeah, I don't need to do that. Like, let me go find somebody who's awesome at this. Let me go find a graphic designer and pay him $2,000 and not sit around trying to AI generate a logo for 20 hours. It's like, you can traffic cop this too a little bit.
There's a lot of things where just in general, people spend so much time on these details, and they really do eat up a lot of time when it's like, just good enough, and let's keep going.
Also helps. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, because I've been
Good
trying to
enough's
do
a
that.
great philosophy.
Been trying to get people in that mindset where I work out and like, it's okay. We don't have to spend weeks and weeks trying to fine tune this thing. Let's 70%. Let's rock and roll.
Well, and always, like, especially go to market, you always have to remember you're probably wrong. Like, almost for sure. Like, almost nothing works in anything. And so like, if you overinvest in any one path, odds are customers won't respond. You're not going to get any leads. Like, we just spent a lot of time on something that has no return. What you want to do is tons and tons of little trials, find something that works, and then hammer on it, like, then go nuts. That's the part of getting good at the business side of cyber, is like, yeah, I can't tell you hundreds of startups I've talked to that are hammering away at something nobody wants. And you're like, you probably shouldn't be doing this. You should probably reevaluate and pick a new path, because they're smart and they're talented. And so a lot of times they have money, but they just are like, nobody wants this. Like, you're just wasting your time. Right. So I try not to do that too much. I've done it, by the way. I've done it many, many times, but I try not to do it.
Wisdom through experience.
Yeah. Suffering. For sure.
What do you think your favorite piece of security has been so far? So obviously you've done a lot of go-to-market, but I guess what brings you the most joy?
That's an interesting question. Some days nothing. No, I think one has been perspective, like watching our industry grow up and become real has been really fun. Um, you know, uh, I was just telling somebody this the other day, and they were asking about conferences, and they're like, why is Black Hat in the middle of the summer in Vegas? Like, that's dumb. And I'm like, it's because we were poor. Jeff looked at a calendar of Vegas and found the cheapest weekend and picked it. That's why we have Vegas, Backlot in Vegas, the weekend we do. Not because of any other reason, no wisdom. It was just literally like, I can get Alexis Park for $29 a night. I'm going to do that. Like, that's where it comes from, right? And so to watch that turn into what it is now has been really fun. Not that it didn't bring charlatans and snake oil salesmen, it did, but like, it's been really fun to watch it move the needle. And then I think it's also been like, again, I've been doing this probably longer than you guys have, but like watching the shift from I can't trust any of this to almost I trust it too much. Like, it's been really interesting to watch our ecosystem grow of, people don't think about online banking. People don't think about anything. They just do their things. And like that is, I think, a sign of quality of our industry. I think it's a sign that we've done a lot of really smart things that our moms can use online banking and be safe. Like, that wasn't easy. That wasn't like a flip. Nobody flipped the switch and made that happen. It was hundreds and thousands of people like us that have done little incremental things to make that possible. And I think that's really cool. That brings me joy. Is like, oh, hey, I know it feels like we lose all the time, and we do, but also we win a lot. Like, it's really cool to watch this stuff work. So that's really exciting. And then just watching the people, like, it's just been so fun to watch idiot friends of mine become millionaires and millionaire friends of mine become idiots. Like, I've seen everything, right? So it's really, really fun to watch all the little journeys in our industry and where people come from. And, this new generation coming up that sort of approaches it very differently, and they approach it with specialization. They want access right away, which I think is this generation of workers anyway. That's really fun to watch. That conflict with like the old cranky, you got to pay your dues, you better learn how to network, guys. And like, it's just fun to watch that conflict, and I get a kick out of it every day. It's fun to watch the little LinkedIn wars.
For those going around, and just to confirm, have definitely been in the industry longer than both of us, probably longer than both of us combined, maybe not quite.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
I think each of us have been in for about a decade now.
Okay. Yeah. So
Mine's
you had
like,
another one, you would beat me. You need another one of you. There's
So
three
together,
of you.
so together.
Yeah.
14. Yeah.
Yeah, even in that time, it's changed so much. Like in
Oh, yeah.
the crazy, in a good way, in good ways, in horrible ways. But yeah, that's been the funnest part of this. It's just change. I see other industries, and it's like, race to the bottom, or there are a lot of outsourcing in other countries that create a lot of like focus on cheapness. And, security, say what you want about security, but it's not driven by cheapness. It's not driven by exploiting human labor and the way other industries are, even just regular dev, right? And so it's fun to watch talent get rewarded. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I enjoy that part of it.
All right. So I did have some questions that I wrote down that I wanted to ask. But before we transition, Mike, do you have any more questions before we get into the other side of it?
Yeah, I have lots of questions always.
Well, ask.
Well, you were doing such a good job. You look so studious. You're just like, all right, I'm ready for my next question. Yeah, ready to rock and roll. No, I wanted to talk more about the startup life, right? So, that's something I've gotten into, but it's always been, for the most part, like a side project. Like, I'm working full time. I'm doing these startups. It sounds like you have definitely a different experience and different takes. Sorry if you hear the dogs howling there. I was trying to mute it and catch it in time. Yeah, so like, when you first got into the startup, has it changed from that point to like the most recent type of startup world? Has that changed, like the cybersecurity world that you were speaking to a few minutes ago?
Yeah, I think the stakes are just higher for sure, right? So, where I am now, and startups are funny because they look glamorous from the outside, but inside it's usually a bloodbath. It's usually like chaos and failure and pivots, and it's never as clean as it goes. And I'll give you an example, right? So, I joined the company Detections AI, which a year ago wasn't Detections AI. It was called System 2 Security. Like, that was what our company was called. And it was an agentic AI SOC company. Like, there's a million of them, right? That there's like trying to do a million things. And, I had joined, and our CEO had reached out to me. We were both kind of doing some other stuff, and he's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about joining this company. Can you look at it?" And I looked at it, and wasn't super wild about what we were doing. It was pretty cool, but a couple of things. One was that it was AI, which I definitely wanted to learn. I was like, I need to learn this at a really deep level, and also learn how to sell it, which nobody's really figured out yet. And then I want to uh, kind of dig into detection engineering of AI. Like that was interesting to me. And we had in our product, which was, early stage, like no money kind of founding sort of thing, we had created an agent that could take threat intelligence and turn it into detection. And it was like pretty cool. I was like, okay, I can do something with that. Right. So then I joined, and at the same time, I was talking to our venture capitalists, and basically me, the new CEO, and the money, our first kind of early seed round, which was, I think at the time, like 7 point something million. We all got here about the same week, almost exactly a year ago, and proceeded to spend 4 months beating our head against the wall, like trying to do everything, trying to grow the team, trying to figure out how to deploy capital, demoing it for anybody who would listen, and just a lot of like meh from the market, which happens a lot, right? And we have an extraordinarily, I'm very lucky. I have a lot of friends who work in security. I built a technical advisor team of like really top end detection engineers that are from PayPal and Microsoft and Target and these places that like, and they're friends of mine. And so we actually got together in the beginning of this year and did like a Shark Tank thing, which is one of the things you do in your startups is what's your biggest audacious goal? And then you have outsiders sort of judge them and they give you some direction on kind of what to do next. That is actually the genesis of Detections AI is we did a Shark Tank thing with the team. And I sort of cheated because I knew I wanted to do it a little bit. And so we obviously won the contest, but we actually coded it up as like a trial site and like really were like, we should do this. And the point wasn't to win. The point was to galvanize the company on this like new direction. Like we're going to do this thing, which isn't easy when you're already a couple $1 million deep into another idea. And very lucky in that like everybody really supported that. And we made this big pivot to the point where we literally changed the name of the company. We changed the leadership structure. We changed the where the development was happening, everything. Nobody knows that from the outside. This is like a mystery, right? It's just like, oh, they just did a little rebrand. And then we spent 6 months building it and launched it like at RSA this year to some friends, like early access, and be like, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, pretty cool. And then got to Black Hat this year, and I was like, hey, I'm going to launch this at Black Hat. Like that was the idea. But I know if I tell developers Black Hat, they'll be late because that's how developers are. So I'm like, we'll get. I told them a month before Black Hat, like that was the goal, and we ended up roughly meeting that deadline, close enough. And we launched it, and I was like, oh, if I get 100 people to care about this, I'm going to be stoked, right? And we added 6,000 people in 30 days
Wow.
to the site. Everybody that I knew, and all like, I mean, Google, Microsoft, like these monster companies. And I went from like, I'm working in this quiet little corner of the internet, like nobody's really paying attention to everybody paying attention. So then everything changed, right? Because like the stakes of it, like the money, we actually were able to raise more money because of that. But also now I went from like, I was doing a school play in front of 10 friends to like, I'm in Broadway. And that was funny, the little thumbs up bubble. It was very cool. Like it was very cool to go through. But if you had told me beginning of the year, this is where we would be, I literally wouldn't have believed you. I'd be like, no, that's not possible. We wouldn't have pivoted that quick. Like, so it's never one story. It's like 50 stories. Right. And then you change through people and you have to change your approach when you're raising money and you got to tell the VCs certain things. And, and it's, people act like it's easy to raise money. It's not. And so, it's just an interesting journey, where I've had other startups that I was at similar recently that never had any of those journeys that kind of, when I started there, was fully formed and we had a lot of difficulties as far as selling it and things like that. And we just didn't change. We were just like, we're just going to keep going until we break through. And to the point where, obviously eventually I wasn't there anymore and a bunch of other people weren't, but it's never the same. I wish there was a roadmap. I wish there was a way for me to say like, do X, Y, Z and it'll work. That's never the way it works. It's always chaos. And I love it. It doesn't bother me, but it freaks people out sometimes. It's less fun when you're worried about where your next paycheck's coming from. But if you're not in that boat, it's definitely fun to sort of like really be able to go like, we're turning this thing around. You can't do that at Microsoft, you can't do that at Salesforce, you can't do that at Palo Alto because they don't need to, first of all, because they're printing money. But I really, really enjoy that part of it. I enjoy the chaos of it. You have to embrace it, right? It's like embrace the suck. You have to be like, this is going to be chaos and I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. So that's been really different. I don't know that I would have been able to do that even 10 years ago. Like, I think I had to learn what I learned to get to this point and listen to really smart people around me, really good advisors. You'll be shocked how much time people give you for free and for just because they want to be a part of something cool. So I really almost exploit that of just like, I just ask everybody, like, what do you think? And can I help you? And where am I missing the mark? And, that's one of the reasons that this works and one of the reasons it's working now. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of my view of startups. It's like, it's never a clean journey. If you don't pivot 3 times and blow your first round, you probably aren't doing it right. Like it's kind of one of those things. Like it's just how the world works.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like when, like for whoever's listening to this, if you've ever read books on startups, like that's a super common thing where, like even Berkshire Hathaway, like you look at him like, okay, it's just a big investment firm. No, it used to be a textile company. And like, same with like the iPhone or the iPod used to look completely different before they made a pivot in terms of stylization and functionality. But it's kind of funny to hear that again. Um, and yeah, like what was the big thing? Was it just you just weren't getting traction as fast as you thought? And it was like, all right, we need to think about something else. What kind of was the trigger that made you start looking away from the original intention?
Yeah, I think especially startup ideas, but I think almost all ideas can always be well served by like one more why, like one more dig into like what it is we're doing here. And so it's easy to say AI suck. Like it's just an easy thing to say. It's an easy thing to think. Like, AI is going to solve all these problems, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I think I don't know if you guys do a ton of detection engineering, but detection engineering is a relatively new part of the security stack. Um, you kind of go into like, why does this exist, right? And then it's like, a lot of it is sort of bridging the gap between what vendors provide and what big companies need. And there's a lot there. And then you look at how you solve the problem. And then I went one level deeper, which was functionally like, where do detections come from? Like, what problem are we trying to solve here? And, I wake up in the morning, I need to write a detection, but why? Like, where does the inspiration come from? And talk to a lot of people about this. And it turns out it's kind of 3 things, right? One is iteration. One is like, I have a concept. I want to, either it's from a previous breach or whatever it may be, but just like, I know my systems. I know I want to look for weird things. It's a hard market to address. A lot of big companies kind of do that themselves. So I was like, okay, cool. And then the next is the news, right? Like threat stuff that's going on, whatever that may be. A new CrowdStrike blog post, a new threat, a alert from ISAC, whatever. And then the third thing is our peers, right? We're like that's where exploits come from. That's where threat intelligence. A lot of it is just peer intelligence. And I was like, why am I fighting this with one hand tied behind my back? Like, why am I doing this in any way that doesn't involve community? Like, it just doesn't make sense, right? That was the initial concept. And then the more I talked to people, I think it turned out that was more important than anything else was, you know, I'm doing this because I want to copy, PayPal, or I want to copy Target, or I want to copy over. And then you go to them and there's this funny thing in security where we all think the next org down the rung has it figured out, and they never do, right? You're like, oh, like Google's awesome. And you go to Google, like, man, we wish we were Microsoft. And you go to Microsoft, they're like, we wish we were Salesforce. It's like, does anybody have this figured out? Are we all imposter syndrome? But there's wisdom in all of the approaches, right? So it's like, okay, like, can I capture that in some way? And can I go on top of that in some meaningful way? We've always had this in threat intelligence, where like there's secret squirrel groups and people share what's going on, and even trading IOCs and stuff like that. It's not really that formal. We've always had this in exploits to the point where we can sell them, right? And then we've always had it in CISO land. Like, they always talk crap about vendors. They're always in these little secret Slacks and signal groups, and like there's always that. But they didn't really exist in defense. That didn't really exist in that. So that was like you get to enough levels of why, you kind of get to like a problem you can solve for, right? And then I was like, well, if I just extrapolate this out, let's build a community. And then, you have people want to share rules, you have people want to consume rules, and then you have this weird new thing in the room, which is AI. It's like, what can AI do to help this make this better, right? How can we add some velocity to this with AI? Not that AI is going to solve it; it's not. But like, what can I do to sprinkle a little AI in here? And so that's where the AI piece of it comes from, which is like, okay, toil reduction, moving faster, language translation. Like, yeah, it's great that PayPal wrote this detection, but they write theirs in Python or whatever, and I need it in Sigma. Like, that's an easy AI problem to solve for. Where it came from in the first place is an almost impossible problem to solve with AI. Trading it between people and making it work is actually an easy AI problem. So that's where we're applying the AI piece of it. And we're very lucky we got into the AI school this year for Google. So they pick like the most promising AI startups. So we get access to like the smartest people at Google and their AI. And a lot of what we give away is Gemini. And so like we're just learning a lot about it too and different use cases it can solve. But I got to tell you, even since we started, the AI has gotten 100 times better. It was such a crappy thing to do. Even last September, I mean, context engines and token windows and all these like AI nerdy things were awful. Like, you couldn't go to an AI and say, here's our URL, summarize it for me. It would be like, I don't know, what's the internet? Like, that's what they did. And now it's like, suck it in and turn it into, like, it's incredible what you can do. And that's been also really fun to do, like watch AI grow. So I was like, if I combine community and AI in a meaningful way, this is going to be more interesting. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100% makes sense. This is a pretty interesting problem. Like, I think I started paying more attention to detections, I guess, since my last role, and then this role, I have a detection team under me with the rest of operations. But yeah, it's an interesting problem, right? Especially if you have multiple SIMs, you have an intel team feed in intelligence, you have priorities coming from higher up, you have a huge customer base that are asking one thing, some people are asking another. So it becomes pretty complicated pretty quick depending on where you're at. So this is a really interesting problem. AJ, he's Mr. Detection Man.
Is that a formal title,
We
AJ, or is that,
no,
is that honorary?
no, just honorary. So for those of you who might not know, is Mike and I used to work on a purple team. Mike has since left Secret Your Pastures, and I transitioned to threat detection. Yeah, so this is kind of my space, and I run testing for my organization, which is what Mike and I did together. And so one of the things that I think you hit on is like a high priority incident, right? You have so many third or fourth party vendors, and then those get popped. Your data could be at risk. Is the same thing viable in your environment, et cetera, et cetera? And so by having this platform and this community and democratizing detection engineering for the most part, it enables a lot more rapid integration of the detections. So I think it's really cool. The thing that I'm curious about, and I'll ask now, anytime you have something that is crowdsourced, you have to worry about the content. So how do you, I guess, make sure that threat actors aren't going in and kind of like, allow listing or basically creating so much noise based off of these detections? And hopefully people aren't just, taking your RSS feed and piping it into their own platform, because that's a terrible idea. But how are you guys planning to avoid the abuse because it is crowdsourced and therefore it opens it to a lot more people?
So I guess a couple of things there. One is, obviously that's always a concern. So we're invite only. That's the community, right? So you have to either be invited by me or invited by somebody who's already on the platform. So it's not vetted. Like, you can certainly have people sneak in that have bad intentions. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's like the perfect community. It's not. I don't know 10,000 people on the platform, right? So, but it is a road bump. You can watch this sort of fringe actors that are very good at this sort of struggle to get in. Okay, cool. The second is the AI process of reviewing detections, that kind of stuff, like making sure people aren't putting anything malicious payloads, things like that. Like, again, there's not a lot you can do in detections, but like, we are worried about it. We also have all of these social platform sort of things. Like, you can't really spam us with 100 detections that are crap. Like, we'll just kick you, we'll boot you, or deplatform you or whatever. Like, so we have a lot of controls in place. I can firmly stand behind every detection that I've seen published. For the most part, I know the people publishing too, because they're like influencers and people that are a little more vocal in the industry. Um, the quality runs the gamut. The quality is actually more of the problem. We can get into that. But as far as abuse, I haven't seen any yet. Doesn't mean there won't be tomorrow. You also, it's funny. I'll give you an example, right? So when you join Detections AI, you cannot upload a profile picture. You have to use AI to generate it. Like that's our little game. Like you have to make it look like what you want to look at with prompts, or just use what we give you. Thousands of hours, man. Thousands of hours people have spent making profile pictures. And it's really fun because I could watch them make them and then they'll put them on other platforms. And like, it's just a fun exercise. But also thousands of prompt engineering attacks, thousands of people messing with our prompts, trying to get the AI to generate obscene images, violence, whatever, just like watching people mess with it, right? So like we know this is a thing, right? Like it's part of the fun of running a security platform is you're constantly. I also am very lucky that some of my friends are the best pen testers on the planet, so I have them test our stuff and prompt engineer us, and like it's just part of the game. I am absolutely not worried about that. Like this is not my top priority that we're going to have people inject bad detections into the process. There's a little bit more risk with that with Yara because you can crash endpoints with Yara loops and weird shit. But like for the most part, a SIM query isn't going to crash a network. So I worry not about that. But I do worry about quality, and I do worry about people spamming for likes and spam because it is a social platform. People sort of flexing and look how cool I am, and it's like, and there's a ton of haters on AI all the time. It's AI slop, it's crap, whatever. The coolest thing about detection engineering is you can always stand on the shoulders of somebody else and do better. If you publish a crappy detection and I think it's crappy, make it better and republish it. Like it's like code. It's like forking code in GitHub. Make it better. Do your own project. I agree. Some of the detections that people publish are like, meh, I could do better. Then put your money where your mouth is. Do better and share it. And if you don't like that, then shut up. Like it's free, right? And so that's kind of the way I look at it. It's like when people talk crap about people's LinkedIn posts, like, well, write a better one. Like, what are we, professional critics? Like, do a better job. And so, that's my attack. That's my version of it, right? It's just like, I think everything could be made better over iterative. Will AI do dumb things, write crappy detections? Of course. Will it also save you 10 hours? Yes. I've seen it. I can come in, load 10, 12, 15 different pieces of intel, log data, exploit data, and produce detections that are better than somebody who spent all day doing it in 30 seconds. That seems like a cheat code to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
By the way, developers are doing this like crazy. The entire dev community is doing this everywhere. It's all 10xing engineers and making engineers faster and taking really smart people and making like ultra capable. Like, why aren't we doing that in security? Like, let's go, right? And I know people are fear driven. I get it. I understand it, but that isn't where I'm approaching it from. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I want to point out is I feel like every company with detection engineers, all the detection engineers always talking crap about each other's detections. Like you get a new engineer, they're just like, oh, this one's crap. This person doesn't know what they're doing. And it's like that everywhere. So
Everywhere.
it's not like it's different.
It's not different. It scales to infinity. Even, vendors get involved and, that team sucks and they just do it for PR. And, I'm very lucky. I get to sort of be Switzerland and all this and be like, okay, like, even like there's a lot of religion around language, right? In the sense that like there's Sigma people and there's certainly Splunkers still around that are like SPLs. They answer all life's problems. I spent 10 years building dashboards in Splunk. Now you have the new, the URL SecOps people. You have, all these different sort of endpoint religions. I'm a Sentinel-1 shop. I'm a CrowdStrike shop. So we just try to help everybody. It's very interesting. Now in the next month, we're bringing network people in. So we're doing a big Suricata rollout for network detections, and we're sponsoring Suricon, and like we're going really deep in the network side of things and turning intel into detections for network is really like something that we haven't really seen yet. I find it interesting to find all the little subcultures around, and there's some movement around now for like AI prompt detection engineering to watch that. I think it's kind of maybe a little overhyped, but the vast, vast, vast majority of detections are still written by detection engineers for their SOC customers internally, and they're mid. Like that would be my opinion. Like a lot of them are pretty good. Drift is a problem. Stacking is a problem. There's always problems, but like it's what we have. Like we got to do better, right? And so that's what we're also focused on. Is just like, hey, like let's solve the problem in front of us. Let's not worry too much about future state and where it can go. And like, yes, at some point there will be an agent looking through a million detections and prioritizing them and stacking them. But like I'll be like, I do this all day, guys. We're nowhere close to that. like AI is so dumb sometimes. Anybody puts AI behind the steering wheel is out of their minds. Like it's so random. And so again, it's better every day. And it's funny, I talk a lot about AI, like to groups and, at other startups and stuff. Like AI is the only thing in my career, in my life. Generally, technology gets deployed and immediately becomes scrappier, right? Like bad guys find ways around it. The languages deprecate, the firewall gets slower, whatever. It's just like crappy over time. That's just the way the technology works. This is the only thing I've ever done in my life where today it's the worst. Tomorrow it will be better. During the course of recording this podcast, AI has gotten better. It's like, that's weird. How do I react to that? Like, and so, trying to navigate that of like, it's more capable and better every day. Doesn't mean it doesn't do dumb things. It doesn't mean it doesn't put out slop. Of course it does. But also I've watched it like get better, like a kid growing up. And that's fascinating to me. I've never seen technology like that. Like I've never seen, like, if you have, Metasploit from 5 years ago, it didn't get better. It got worse, right? Like everything deprecates, all the exploits fall off the table, and you sort of have to start over. That's not the way AI works at all. So I think that's really been fun too, to watch that. Like, wow, look what it can do today. Look, this is really cool. I enjoy that.
That's true. Like I think it was last year. I was just trying to use it when I was doing like a CTF or something, or like Hack the Box or something like that.
Sure.
And didn't didn't work. Like, trying to, all right, what's next with Nmap just to see what it would do, or I'm seeing these type of vulnerabilities. What would you recommend? Didn't even come close to working. And then I think it was this year I was doing a web app pen test and I was having it help me work through modifying an exploit. I knew it should work and I got it pretty close by myself. I was like, all right, there's something off. Got it to work just with it talking with me through the actual exploitation and some of the stuff I was seeing, how it was reacting. I was able to come up with a working proof of concept that was a variant of a public exploit. And I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. That's awesome to see.
Nothing about 10,000 threat actors having that. That's the other problem with this. It's like, oh no, like we have it, they have it too. But I can take now 10,000 detections in a library and load all of them into a context window and chat with it. I can do that today. But right now I can ask, okay, which one of these detections has IOCs that are out of date? Which one of these detections do I not need anymore because I don't have this technology anymore? Which one of these detections could be combined? That's insane. Like that didn't exist 4 months ago. Now with like MCP and these million token context windows and stuff, it's crazy. And also it's funny for us because like our data is tiny. Like detections are text files. Like you can do this with like video and audio. Like you can upload 10,000 songs and have it tell you which ones you're going to like in AI windows. Like it's crazy. Our stuff's tiny compared to that world. So I really am enjoying watching that part of it mature. And even just like different perspectives. You can add like the threat side and the defense side now into like one sort of context window and it'll really negotiate with itself. You can also chat between AIs. So you can like ask Claude a question and have that go to Gemini and then have Gemini go back to Claude and get like really different thought processes because Claude's like the artist, right? And Gemini is like the worker bee and Grok's the crazy one. And OpenAI is it's like won't shut up. It'll just verbose you to death. And so, but you get those four in a room and you get like really interesting conversations agentically. So that's really fun too. I don't profess to be the world's expert on agentic AI at all, but like I enjoy watching it work. Like a customer of it. I think is really cool.
Yeah, a couple of really cool things there. I just want to talk about real quick because the first thing I didn't even think about, but it totally makes sense now, is having it assess your technology over time and what makes sense to still have. I mean, because you could even bring in like minor attacks, bring in threat feeds, all that, and be like, hey, we need to shore up this area like we're talking about. Nessus and Tenable kind of does this now where they're Lumen feature where it's looking at your total attack surface. But you could do this with detections as well, where you're looking at that total attack surface, looking at these different things, even web application stuff, like the Apache Struts stuff that came out before, where it's really hard to pinpoint where it may surface. This could be a really good spot for AI to just churn through all that data for you and identify those weak points where, that may take weeks for a human to do that.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch it. So the other element of this that's really interesting to that point is I'm not entirely sure what we're going to end up calling it. It's sort of be called memory right now. But if you think about like, I'm sure you guys saw those posts where people like post the OpenAI image of like what OpenAI thinks it looks like as like an action figure or something. That's actually a really dumb use case for the most powerful part of AI, which is memory. So memory is getting to know you as a person, as a customer, as a data set, and then having that inform opinions in the future, right? So you can teach AI through memory, not just prompting, because prompt you have to do every time. Memory is like, I know your, Pfizer, and I know you do drug development, and I know you do business in these countries, and I know you have this tech stack, and I know you have these risks. And then that will inform literally every other decision it makes and everything you do. And that's fascinating to me because it's like the way humans think. And it's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and they're like, yeah, but it does dumb stuff. And I'm like, yeah, so does security analysts. Like, we do the dumbest things and we go down rabbit holes and we spend days working on exploits, to your point, that don't even work. And like, why would AI be better than that? It's us. It's just a reflection of humans. So like, why would it be smarter than me? It's not going to be. And so, I just think if you let it make mistakes and you let it go off on the deep end sometimes, what you will eventually get back is like really important nuggets that are really incredible, which is what I like about it. Like, I think it's really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point too. The whole memory thing, that didn't come about till what, late last year maybe, or was it early this
4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, none of it really worked that long ago. It was all just like really long prompts that are like, I'm Bob and I have these preferences. And that's not really memory. It's just prompts. But yeah, now it
Yeah.
actually has memory.
Or people were trying to do it with like RAG, where you just give it access to whatever. But yeah, as it gets this memory and they build out that functionality, it will become more and more like humans, because that's really who we are. Is our consciousness is built off of our experiences. So this will be interesting as we move forward.
Yeah. It'll also get all of our biases and quick snap judgments and all the crap that make us make bad decisions. Right. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out for sure.
Is it IBM that had that bot like probably almost
Hey.
10 years ago that was instantly racist, like when they connected it to the internet?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you are what you eat, right?
Yeah.
And so like, that's the problem with AI too. They have stolen everything, right? Everything's in there, bouncing around. And so it's like, and I get why artists and people who create things are upset about that. But like, I think the overall net benefit of that is pretty incredible. Right now it still feels like if you walk in a room and you see your friend and you have to tell them your entire life story to then start a conversation, that's how AI feels. But it's starting to get to the point where it's like, oh, I know you. Not that well, but it's starting to get to that point where you're like, I can skip some of this crap, some of these intros. And then eventually it's going to the point where you walk in a room and you can just pick up a conversation. Like, I already know everything you've ever asked me. I already have that memory built in. I know where you live. I know everything about you. Like, you don't have to level set with me to ask me where to have lunch. Right. And now you do. Like, if you go to ask ChatGPT where I should have lunch, it's going to ask where you live. Like, that's dumb. Like, that's dumb AI. But we're getting to the point where it's going to be like, oh, you're here. And also, I know you're traveling. So I know you're in San Francisco. So go here. Like, that's coming for sure. It's just a matter of giving it the right data. And also, it's going to know everything about us, which is terrifying.
Yeah. I've noticed a little bit of that with GPT as well, where I'll be in a separate chat. So it's not part of a project or anything, and it'll reference a name of something that I've developed previously. Yeah. And that annoys me because I'm like, you're not supposed to have that context.
Well, they want it though. They want to connect all those dots, and that's how they're going to monetize it, right? Is like, and it's also, you always have to remember if it's free or the product, right? So like, it's a perfect example of that. Like, you can't stop it from learning about you. And it's bringing in really weird data sets now too. Like, it's absorbed all of social, then it's absorbed, everything you've ever written. It's absorbed all the video from these podcasts that you're doing. So like, it'll regurgitate stuff back to me. And I'm like, did I say that 10 years ago? Like, okay, cool. Like, I don't do that much public. Like, so people who have like a lot of public stuff out there, it's pretty crazy. The amount of how it can replicate what you think and say is very interesting.
Yeah. And then you have the issue or benefit, I view it as an issue, where the chats are being retained for quote unquote law enforcement purposes.
Yeah,
So
sure.
so
That's why.
yeah. So anything is there to be referenced later. And I read an article yesterday, not to get too sidetracked. This kid, this child, I think he was in junior high or high school, was utilizing his school computer. And I don't know if they had um, allowed access to ChatGPT or if it was like an internalized version of ChatGPT, but he looked up like how to murder my classmate. And he said it was a joke, but it flagged his system.
Sure.
And then the police came and they actually, it said he was arrested. I don't know how you would charge that because it's kind of getting into like that movie where they have the Cedars and stuff.
Police, that's not
Minority
the name.
Report.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. So that's interesting. And then, like I said, with it being retained in the future, you're gonna see you could probably see employers and you're interviewing for a job and like, well, I see that you were looking up this type of information back in the day, and you're like, cool.
Well, just as an example, if you're interviewing somebody, go to ChatGPT or Gemini, because Gemini actually has better internet data, and ask them to summarize that person in 250 words or less, and give them your job description and ask the AI if you should hire them. It will tell you this person is probably not a fit for what you're looking for. Like, it's easy. And also terrifying because like, if you make a mistake, are you out of the job market forever? Like, these are all crazy questions to think about. But yeah, so I have done that, I've done that on myself too, by the way. It's super interesting. But yeah, and the more concise you ask it to get, the meaner it'll get.
Jeez. I
Like,
hear AJ over there looking right now, trying to look some
yeah,
stuff up.
summarize me
Probably.
in
Yeah,
20 words.
Well,
Like, what a jerk.
that's
You're like, oh, wow, that was really summarized. Like, thank you.
it's so funny with that now. Like, I don't know who I was talking to about this, but I mean, it's everywhere on the internet. Everyone's saying this, regardless, where it's like it's AI versus AI everywhere. Your teachers, your students, your hiring managers versus your people applying, your applicants, and now like even more so, like even before, like as soon as it comes in, I can look up on the internet about you. Because I mean, I've seen in interviews already where people have it listening and responding during an interview for them, so they can like read off like the response of the AI during. Like, come on,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
yeah, it's so terrible now. All right, AJ, I think we're at our time. I don't want to keep him over. You want to wrap this up, do a summary, and do that thing while you're looking yourself up on the internet?
actually looking up Aaron, and you'll be happy to know that ChatGPT thinks 200K for a sizzle roll for you is way too low. So
Oh,
uh,
excellent. Thank you,
yeah,
ChatGPT.
yeah. I
I
mean,
appreciate that.
I agree with that.
I,
Just curious.
I have pre-biased it with all of the data that I've given it, and so it thinks I'm smarter than I am. I'm not. But yeah, that's very funny. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate this. I definitely have more stuff to ask you about, and um, just thanks because we've never. I mean, we've messaged a few times on LinkedIn, and then you hopped on here, and like you mentioned, getting people's time for free. I did not think that this would work, and it did. So, just thank you for contributing to that.
Yeah, it's you get back what you put out there, right? So I'm a big fan of it. I've listened to a few of the stuff you guys have uploaded, and I enjoy the kind of like the conversational vibe of this. It's really cool. I think we need more of this in industry. If there's anybody I can help you wrangle as a guest, let me know. And then yeah, I'm a big supporter of you guys. I'll like and subscribe and do all that, and I'll obviously promote it and give you guys hopefully some views that way. But I'm a big fan. I think what you guys are doing is really cool.
Thank you. He's also not paid for this, by the way.
No, yeah, no, just here hanging out with some new friends. It's great.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
appreciate it. It's been I could probably talk all night about this stuff. It's awesome.
Well, speaking of kids, I've got to go listen to an orchestra concert, so I've got to go do that.
awesome.
But it is great talking to you guys. And if you need anything from me, I'm only Aaron Mog on LinkedIn and Cyber. You can always find me there. Or obviously, we'd love everybody to join Detections AI. You can reach out to me there. And we're always looking for feedback. We're right about 10,000 live users, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty big community. We're pretty excited about it. So yeah, if anybody has anything, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always on there.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll include your links in the podcast notes as well, so that people can get that. So to summarize, again, thanks, Aaron, for coming and talking to us about your experience and startups and go to market, and then detections AI and kind of democratizing detection engineering. Also, really appreciated your perspective on watching the industry grow up, as you said. So kind of mature and then develop different processes and be more accepted. It's kind of like back in the day, don't ride with strangers, and then we have Uber, and it's like, oh, I'll hop right in. So that was really cool. And as Aaron said, we will have his links. You can reach out to him if you would like to get an invite to detections.ai, and we will catch you on the next episode. So
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
thank you.